the first day back. Inshallah, I actually have to do a nikah as well. Around, I don't know, when they show up, around 11 o'clock or something like that. So we'll take a break then. And I don't know where they want to do it because they're having Quran classes in the masjid. So the conference room is open. So I'll ask them if you guys want to attend, you guys can attend that as well, inshallah. Then we'll come back and then we will continue from here. But inshallah, before that, we'll start as much as we can of Surah Ar-Rum. Ar-Rum, Surah Ar-Rum is a Makkan surah or Madani surah. Look at the first verse. It's a Makkan surah. How do we know that? I know you probably said the Makkan surah says, but even if you didn't know, if that part wasn't there, how would we know if it's a Makkan surah or Madani surah? Not necessarily in all circumstances. But look at the first verse. When you see, what do you see? Alif Lam Mim. As soon as you see Alif Lam Mim, and it's not from Surah Al-Baqarah or Ali Imran, then automatically you know it's a Makkan verse. Okay? So in the translation, it says the Byzantines. The Roman Empire had two parts. There was the western part of the Roman Empire, and there was the eastern part of the Roman Empire. The capital of the eastern part was where? Anybody know? I used to teach high school social studies, so it's very fascinating stuff. It might not be in reality, but the western part, the capital is Rome. Okay? The eastern part is what you call the Byzantine Empire. And their capital was Damascus. Okay, so the Byzantines, it's written in your translation, it's all a part of Rome, right? Rome, but specifically this segment is what the Prophet ﷺ was talking about, because if you look at, in some books of history, they'll talk about a battle that took place between the Persians, and it won't mention the Romans, it mentioned the Byzantines, but the Byzantines were part of the Roman Empire at this time. This surah has a lot of, it's a very reflective surah, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, and from His signs. One surah, one ayah that you're probably familiar with when it comes to this surah is what you see on the wedding cards. And from His signs, you have seen that He has made spouses from yourselves for love and mercy, and these are signs for those that reflect. This is from Surah Ar-Rum. But if you look at it, and we'll talk about it inshallah ta'ala, that ayah is in between a set of ayat that says, and from His signs is this, and from His signs is this, and from His signs is this. In this are signs for people of knowledge, people that reflect, people that listen, people that think, right? So it's telling us to reflect and be among those that think, and don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just because, our parents did or things, but we have to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on knowledge and based on conviction, faith.
Meccan surah, which opens with a reference to the defeat of the Byzantines at the hands of the Persians in Syria, and the subsequent victory of the Byzantines in 624 to encourage the believers in their difficult times. The surah urges people to reflect on the creation of themselves, the heavens and the earth, and all God's wonders. God's power to give life to a barren land is repeated indication both of His ability to raise the dead and of His mercy to mankind. The disbelievers are warned to believe before it is too late. The prophet is urged to persevere and to ignore the taunts of the disbelievers. In the name of God, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy. Alif Lam Mim. The Byzantines have been defeated in their nearest land. They will reverse their defeat with a victory in a few years' time. God is in command, first and last. On that day, the believers will rejoice at God's help. He helps whoever He pleases. He is the mighty, the merciful. This is God's promise. God never breaks his promise, but most people do not know. They only know the outer surface of this present life and are heedless of the life to come. Have they not thought about their own selves? God did not create the heavens and earth and everything between them without a serious purpose and on an appointed time. Yet many people deny that they will meet their Lord. Have they not traveled through the land and seen how their predecessors met their end? They were mightier than them. They cultivated the earth more and built more upon it. Their own messengers also came to them with clear signs. God did not wrong them, they wronged themselves. Later, the evildoers met a terrible end for rejecting and repeatedly mocking God's revelations. God brings creation into being. In the end, he will reproduce it, and it is to him you will be recalled. On the day the hour arrives, the guilty will despair, and they will have no intercessors among those partners they ascribe to God. They will deny those partners. They will deny these partners. When the hour arrives on that day, people will be separated. Those who believed and did good deeds will delight in a garden, while those who disbelieved and denied our messages and the meaning of the hereafter will be brought into torment.
Okay, so if you look at the Romans, during this time, before we go on, during this time there were two major superpowers. There were the Romans and the Persians. Okay? And the Romans, what did they worship as a whole? Anyone know? They were Christianity. Right? They worshipped Isa alayhi salam, true, but they did have this concept of the oneness of God. Right? They tried to justify this through the Trinity and stuff like that. So the Persians, what did the Persians worship? Fire. Okay? Fire, different, one god of evil, one god of good. Right? This is the concept that they had. So the Mushrikun wanted the Persians to win, and the Muslims wanted the Romans to win because they were closer in faith to each other, right? So they were not directly involved in the battle, but it's like, okay, I want this group to win because they're closer to us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the beginning he said, غُلِبَتِ الرُّومُ. What happened? When this verse was revealed, the Romans had lost. They would overcome. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in a few years, فِي بِضْعِ سِنِينَ, in a few years what's going to happen? Bidr is between 3 to 9 years. The reality is going to happen is that they're going to have another battle, and the Romans are going to end up winning. And then the believers are going to have joy. And this is a promise from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never breaks his promise. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about true knowledge. Right? It's not mentioned that they don't know anything. It's not mentioned that they don't know anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ غَافِلُونَ. They know things, but they only know those things which are on the surface. But they don't have true knowledge. Why? Because they're ghafil in terms of the hereafter. What does the term ghafil mean? Ghafla. Heedless, okay? Heedless, it means that they don't know or they don't care. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they don't know the reality of life. They don't have truly beneficial knowledge. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay, I wrote learning from the people of the past. Where did I get that from? There's a verse in there. أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ كَانُوا أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً وَأَثَارُوا الْأَرْضَ وَعَمَرُوهَا أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا عَمَرُوهَا. Right? Haven't you traveled in the land? Then what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us after that? Verse 9. Verse 8, 9, yeah. Second paragraph. What does it say? What does it mean? Superior in strength. What else? Cultivation. Cultivation here? Yes. But in all terms of they benefit, they had more than you did. They had more strength than you did, they had more wealth than you did, they benefited from the land more than you did. But what happened to them? What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did he just destroy them? No, what did he do? sent them messengers. And when they rejected the messengers, then their cultivation, their strength, nothing protected them, and nothing prevented the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming upon them. So learn from them, don't make the same mistakes that they made. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, two ayahs here, وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يُبْلِسُ الْمُجْرِمُونَ, and then وَيَوْمَ تَقُومُ السَّاعَةُ يَوْمَئِذٍ يَتَفَرَّقُونَ. The first ayah is that when the day of judgment comes, the mushrikun will lose all hope in anyone or anything they associated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a distinction between the people. Right? What is waiting for the people that had faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yeah, paradise. They'll delight in the garden. As for those who rejected, what will be waiting for them? فَأُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُحْضَرُونَ. Right? Torment. Alright, it's not only this. If you look at the ayah, وَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَبِلِقَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ فِي الْعَذَابِ مُحْضَرُونَ. They not only rejected the ayat, but what was a sign that they rejected the ayat is that they denied the meeting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they thought, okay, what are the consequences? Who cares if we don't do these things or if we do these things? So we always have to understand that there are consequences to our actions. So we have to understand that we will stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so the next paragraph is about the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the importance of making tasbih and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So celebrate God's glory in the evening, in the morning. Praise is due to Him in the heavens and the earth, in the late afternoon and at midday. He brings the living out of dead and the dead out of the living. He gives life to the earth after death, and you will be brought out in the same way. One of His signs is that He created you from dust, and lo and behold, you became human and scattered far and wide. Another of His signs is that He created spouses from among yourselves, for which you to live within tranquility. He ordained love and kindness between you. There truly are signs in those for those who reflect. Another of His signs is the creation of the heavens and earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. There truly are signs in this for those who know. Amongst His signs are your sleep, by night and by day, and your seeking His bounty. There truly are signs in this for those who can hear. Among His signs, too, are that He shows you the lightning that terrifies and inspires hope, that He sends water down from the sky to restore the earth to life after death. There truly are signs in this for those who use their reason. Among His signs, too, is the fact that the heavens and earth stand firm by His command. In the end, you will all emerge when He calls you from the earth. Everyone in the heavens and earth belongs to Him, and all are obedient to Him. He is the one who originates creation and will do it again. This is even easier for Him. He is above all comparison in the heavens and earth. He is the Almighty, the one who governs.
So the first thing that I wrote is salat. Okay? How do we know that this means salat? فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ حِينَ تُمْسُونَ حِينَ تُصْبِحُونَ وَلَهُ الْحَمْدُ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَعَشِيًّا وَحِينَ تُظْهِرُونَ. Alright? What do we say? فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ. Here it says فَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ, right? Glory. And we say that means Allah is perfect. So there's different times given. And how do we know that this is referring to the salat? Can anybody deduce that? Okay, very good deduction. But is saying thana mandatory in the salah? It's not, it's recommended. It's from the sunnah. If someone says Allahu Akbar and starts reciting Al-Fatiha, the salah will be intact. Okay? But what is mandatory, which has to do with tasbih? Allahu Akbar is not tasbih, right? Tasbih is when you say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. A person's salah is not valid or complete unless they say these things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing ishara to making tasbih, but is it mandatory for a person? If we say, say Subhanallah wa bihamdi, Subhanallah al-Azim, subhanallah wa bihamdihi is recommended in the adhkar al-sabah al-masa. You'll see that it's recommended to do that 100 times in the morning, 100 times in the evening. But it's not an obligation. So we say that this is referring to these times: morning, evening, afternoon, midday. What are these all referring to? These are referring to the salawat. Because making tasbih during that time is mandatory and obligatory, right? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about reviving the life, bringing living out of the dead, and tells us to look at the earth after it has died, right? After the winter, where the crops come from, these type of things. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and then He spread us far and wide. Another science is that spouses, right? What is, if you look at this verse, what is one of the keys, two of the keys to a successful marriage? Love and mercy, right? Here it says love and kindness. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah in his tafsir, commenting on this, he says most marriages start off with love, right? Then it's got mercy. Mercy comes and kicks in. Love can increase too. No one's saying it can't increase, but there is certain times where a person needs to be merciful towards the other person. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately, the following verse, about after talking about marriage and then love and tranquility and sukoon, then He talks about another of His signs, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. There are truly signs in this for those who know, the alimin. Many of the scholars have said this is another evidence of that it is permissible and in certain times encouraged and recommended to marry outside of the cultures, right? To have these type of marriages, which is also from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, if you look at his Sunnah, ﷺ, we know that he was the best example for us in all aspects. There were times where the Prophet ﷺ, he married from his family, his cousins. There were times he married outside of his family. There were times that he married from the Quraysh, and there are times that he married outside the Quraysh. So they're in the marriages of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, we find all aspects, and we find that things are permissible. So some of the youth, they come and they say, no, marrying a cousin is disgusting, or and all these type of things. If it was disgusting, the Prophet ﷺ would not have done it. Okay? So yeah, you may find it odd, awkward, but don't say it's disgusting, because then you're saying the Prophet ﷺ did something which is disgusting. No, we don't say these type of things, okay? So it is permissible. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to reflect on our sleep. And as we've seen after Ramadan, we kind of cherish and value the sleep, right? We realize how much of a blessing it is to be able to make up for the sleep, and it is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you look at, there are truly signs for this, okay. 23, among His signs are your sleep by night and by day, and you're seeking His bounty. There are truly signs in this for those who can hear. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the wisdom behind using hearing and reflecting to sleep and seeking bounty? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. It's simple. Okay, if you work more, think about hearing and sleeping. Okay, pattern. But just think about sleeping. What do you say? Look, okay, if your kids are loud, Baba's sleeping, Baba's sleeping, be quiet, right? Or I need to sleep, I can't sleep, it's too loud. Right? I have to tell people that speak, you guys are too loud, just go. Sleep, we need to sleep. We need quiet to sleep, right? So these type of things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to reflect, right? Reflect on your sleep. And these are signs for those that listen. Because use your ears to acknowledge that even the ability to fall asleep is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And subhanAllah, if you've ever seen people with insomnia, right, it's very, very difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ease it from that, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them the ability to overcome this problem, and give them the ability to rectify whatever is going on in their life. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us from His signs are the lightning. Okay, why is lightning? You know how you say double-edged sword? Why is lightning or thunder, why can it be considered a double-edged sword? It could be destructive. And it could be, what else? Yeah, hopeful, and that's why, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say here? Look at the verse 24. That terrifies and inspires hope. Right? When it starts to rain, especially in the Arab world, they cherish those days. Okay? But then if it rains too much, then what happens? It can become destructive. That's why Prophet ﷺ, we know the hadith where he made dua for rain and it began to rain. The next week, it was raining consistently for a week, continuously for a week. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Hawilana la alayna," right? Around us and not on top of us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the rain stop. Okay? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you understand that He who created us, it's very easy for Him to recreate us. So understand that we all belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no one comparable to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is above any comparison, and He is the one subhanahu wa ta'ala that is almighty, and He is the one subhanahu wa ta'ala that governs everything.
He gives you this example drawn from your own lives. Do you make your slaves full partners with an equal sharing what we have given you? Do you fear them as you fear each other? This is how we make our messages clear to those who use their reason. And still the idolaters follow their own desires without any knowledge. Who can guide those God leaves astray, who have no one to help them? So Prophet ﷺ, as a man of pure faith, stand firm and true in God, true in your devotion to the religion. This is the natural disposition God instilled in mankind. There is no altering God's creation, and this is the right religion, though most people do not realize it. Turn to Him alone, all of you. Be mindful of Him. Keep up the prayer. Do not join those who ascribe partners to God, those who divide their religion into sects, with each party rejoicing in their own. When something bad happens to people, they cry to their Lord and turn to Him for help. But sooner does He let them taste His blessings than, lo and behold, some of them ascribe partners to their Lord, showing no gratitude for what we have given them. Take your pleasure. You will come to know. Did we send them down any authority that sanctions the partners they ascribe to God? When we give people a taste of our blessings, they rejoice. But when something bad happens to them, because of their own actions, they fall into utter despair. Do they not see that God gives abundantly to whoever He will, and sparingly to whoever He will? There truly are signs in this for those who believe. So give their due to the near relative, the needy, and the wayfarer. That is best for those whose goal is God's approval. There are the ones who will prosper. Whatever you lend out in usury to gain value through other people's wealth will not increase in God's eyes. But whatever you give in charity, in your desire for God's approval, will earn multiple rewards. It is God who created you and provided for you, who will cause you to die and then will give you life again. Can any of your partners do any of these things? Glory be to God, and exalted be He above the partners they attribute to Him. Corruption has flourished on land and sea as a result of people's actions. He will make them taste the consequences of some of their own actions so that they may turn back. Say, travel through the land and see how those before you met their end. Most of them were idolaters. Prophet, stand firm in your devotion to the upright religion before an irresistible day comes from God. On that day, mankind will be divided. Those who rejected the truth will bear the burden of that rejection. And those who did good deeds will have made good provision for themselves. From His bounty, God will reward those who believe and do good deeds. He does not like those who reject the truth.
Okay, what is the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in verse 28? Okay, master and servant. Right? Do we make, even if, like, look, we don't have servants here, but even think about back home, you have workers and stuff like that. Do you treat them as you treat yourself in terms of wealth, in terms of property, in terms of all these things? No, there's a level, right? So how can someone think that they can make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala equal to them? Okay? Think about it, even for our own children. There's a level between parents and children. Parents, grandparents, right? We don't make ourselves equal to our parents. We always have to give them respect because they have a higher level than us. Similarly, so how is it possible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has created us and does everything that we have for us, how is it that we try to become equal with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala? Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about فِطْرَةَ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ. Our fitrah is recognizing the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person will not have peace, not have contentment, not have satisfaction if he doesn't recognize this, that this is the purpose of his creation. Some people, they try to fill this void in their life with other things. Some people try to fill it with money. Some people try to fill it with, following their desires, whatever that may be. But they may never find that peace and happiness and comfort. You see a lot of people that, on the surface, in terms of the world, they have all the wealth. And then you see that, why did this person get addicted to this? Why did this person get, attempt suicide or even kill themselves and things like that? And we can't understand it, right? But a lot of times what happens, there's a void in their hearts and their souls that will never, their thirst will never get quenched except for the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's where contentment comes from, is this belief in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again telling us the same thing we talk about in many different places in the Quran, right? When we're tested, something bad happens to people, what do? They cry to their Lord and turn to Him for help. But no sooner does He let them taste His blessing, and lo and behold, some of them ascribe partners to their Lord. So we have to be sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, when we give people a taste of our blessing, they rejoice, and when something bad happens to them, because of their own actions, they fall into utter despair. This ayah 36, is an evidence of sometimes there are consequences to the actions that we commit. Okay. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about He is the one that provides. I wrote increase in wealth. There's a parallel here between two things. You read the Arabic, it says وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِّبًا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ, the first part. And the second part is وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ. There's a comparison between riba and zakah. In terms of, let's say a person doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, okay? And he just sees, okay, how can I increase my wealth? What is going to benefit him in terms of the world? Okay, what is he going to think? What's his perception going to be like? How can he increase his wealth? Is he going to use interest? Or is he going to think that by giving charity he can increase his wealth? What will he do? Interest, right? Because if he gives a loan, let's say for $10, and then he takes back $100 in return, he says that, okay, I made a profit of $90. But the people of faith, they say, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, when he gives that $10 away, that's what's going to increase his wealth. So that's where faith comes in. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions that whoever thinks that interest will increase their wealth, فَلَا يَرْضَى عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. There's no increase with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ, the ones that will be multiplied are the ones that give zakah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next thing I wrote are 4 things that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do. Okay, what are they? They are, what verse is this? Verse 40, exactly. Right? Allah alladhi khalaqakum, thumma razaqakum, thumma yumitukum, thumma yuhyikum. Okay, Raza, what are they? Go ahead. Okay, creating, providing. Okay, cause the person to die and bring them back to life. Okay? This is, when we say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that the only one that deserves our praise and all praise is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's Ar-Rum. Why? Because He's the only one that can do these things. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Can anyone, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هَلْ مِن شُرَكَائِكُم مَّن يَفْعَلُ مِن ذَلِكُم مِّن شَيْءٍ? Okay, let's leave all 4. Let's say one of those things. Is there anyone besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that can even do one of those 4? No. And what we can also add to that is when it talks about life and death, benefit and harm. Only one that can do any of this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, next point. Why is there corruption? Why has the world, the land, and the sea become so corrupt? Okay, as a result of people's actions. Okay? But then, is it beyond hope? Is it beyond repair? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, corruption has flourished on land. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. Alright, why has the world become so corrupt? Because of people's actions. Alright, so why are some people punished? What's the purpose of punishment in this world? To teach them a lesson. And how do we learn that lesson? What is that? So that we turn back. Turn back to what? Turn back to who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very good. Everybody understand the point? If something happens to a person in this world, okay, and that calamity, that adversity causes the person to take a step back and say, hold on a second, how am I living my life? Okay? Then it causes that person to change and return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That adversity or calamity could have been the best thing to happen to that person. Okay? Sometimes we don't realize that. I think it was Ibn Qayyim, one of them, they said that something bad that happens to a person which causes them to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better for that person than being in bliss his whole life. Because when we're in bliss, when we're in happiness or prosperity, we think everything's going well, therefore I don't need to change anything. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, do not let the zina or the glitz and the glamour of this world distract you from what is truly important. So reflect, okay? And the people, the truly aqil person, the truly intelligent person, a reasonable person, is the one who learns from what happens to others around them, rather than having to experience them themselves. He never says, oh, that's never going to happen to me. Right? SubhanAllah, I'll give you one example. In 5 minutes, inshallah. One example is when a person, they say that, look, I'm just texting this girl. And we're talking about things that aren't even, there's nothing, forbidden about what we're talking about. It's just like, okay, how's the weather? What sports teams do you like? And all these type of things. They think there's nothing forbidden. So I said, look, stop it. You're married? Stop it. He said, no, it's just casual. 2 months later, 3 months later, he comes to me, he wants to divorce his first wife. Why? He wants to marry this other girl. How did it start? What happened? When we think that these things aren't going to happen to us, or I'm strong enough. No, we're not. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He put rules, regulations, in order for us to be able to protect ourselves from ourselves. What ended up happening? It's a sad story. First wife, right? They got divorced. The other girl was like, hold on a second, I never wanted to marry you. I just was talking to you about basketball. And he ended up alone. And this is what happens at times. So we have to be careful. Never think that, there's nothing, it's not serious or things like that. Because shaitan can come and he can build an emotional attachment, and that can be very damaging. Okay, so everybody needs to be very, very careful. We'll finish the surah inshallah, and then we'll take a break. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us travel through the land and learn. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that